All right, happy Wednesday night, everybody. Hope everybody is having a great day. We're getting ready for the cold weather coming into West Texas, and off we go. Now, tonight, What If Wednesday? We do alt history on Wednesdays. You saw that on the site earlier today, theraiderland.com. Tonight, we're going to go with the Dallas Cowboy question. I'll give it to you here in just a little bit. We also got Tech basketball. Look at the game last night. It's a road win, it's a good win. They're all good wins in the Big 12. And then Cowboys coaching search, whatever else you want to do. Cold weather coming in. I don't know. Graham Harrell going into the College Football Hall of Fame. That's pretty cool, right? Yeah. Got a Tech quarterback going in there. All that stuff and more, whatever you want to talk about tonight. Up to you. We will go as long as your comments and questions are entertaining and intriguing and anything else. So the show is up to you tonight. In three, in two. Good evening, West Texans, all you good, fine, friendly folks out there who wish you were. I'm Ryan Hyatt. TheRaiderland.com is where you start your day every day with the hot, fresh Raiderland hot links. Cool stuff around the internet. We slave over a hot internet every day trying to bring you awesome stuff. I think if I like it, you guys are going to like it. So check it out every day. Brought to you by The Reserve, a culinary tavern, 103rd and Quaker. Great brunch, Saturday and Sunday. You know that. Awesome regular menu. Creative, cool, fun eats. So is that what we call it now? Eats? Yeah. Anyhow, you need to check it out. If you're coming into town and you don't know where to go, you've been out of Lubbock for a while, go to The Reserve. Good call. Pete's Tire Service in Roseville, Texas. They go all around the South Plains, roadside assistance, and you can buy tires there at their place. But mainly, I want to tell you guys right now, make sure you have Pete's Tire Service on your phone if you travel around the South Plains, whether you're driving a big old dually or just a regular car or whatever, they will come to you. Roadside assistance. Now you're thinking, do I need to like sign up for something or whatever? No, you need to have their phone number in your phone and say, hey, Ryan Hyatt sent me to you. Will you take care of us? And they'll be like, yeah. And they'll be like, well, it's just nice not to have to go work on Hyatt's truck or something, out there in the country. Pete's Tire Service. United Supermarkets takes care of all the communications, whether you are on Twitter X at Ryan Hyatt Media, whether you're on our YouTube channel, don't cost nothing. Everybody subscribe. And if you're watching on YouTube, please thumbs up, drive that and invite people in. And then Facebook Live. A lot of people on Facebook love hanging out with us there. So, What If Wednesday, alt history, tag basketball, all that stuff going on. Let's get it going. Craig, the talking box is on. Craig, nobody knows what that means anymore. I don't think there are about 3 people that have any idea what that means. And that's okay. Hold on, I got a product placement there. There we go. Jeff, the YouTube box is on. And then finally, Alan, hold on a second here. We got Facebook, we got YouTube, and now we got Twitter X. Everybody's involved tonight. Everybody who's watching, share on the platform you're watching. Jerry would have fired Tom after the 1989 season and probably missed out on hiring Jimmy Johnson. The Super Bowls don't follow. It's almost like he can read my mind. Goes back to Periscope. Yes, it does. The talking box is on. All right, so here's the What If Wednesday. What if Jerry Jones doesn't fire Tom Landry? What if Jerry Jones buys the Dallas Cowboys, and he did, and instead of firing Tom Landry, he keeps him? Now, H.R. Bumbright was the owner for 4 years, and he was getting his ass handed to him financially in the savings and loan scandal. So how this is lost in history. How do we get to Jerry Jones? Well, Clint Murchison and the family and everything, old oil and everything else. So in '84, they're ready to sell the Cowboys. The Cowboys are not on a descending arc at that time. They played in 3 straight NFC championship games, but couldn't get past the Eagles, couldn't get past the Redskins, you know. So they sell. They sell to Bum Bright. So Bum Bright was a rising entrepreneur in Texas in the early 80s. The S&L scandal, savings and loan scandal of the mid 80s, late 80s begins to take its toll. And that's why Bum Bright and his partnership that bought the Cowboys, I think it was in 1984. By 1988, 89, they got to sell. Depending on who you talk to, Bum Bright wanted to fire Tom Landry after the 88 season, but he's selling the team. It's not going to matter. They want to be. All right. So what happens if Jerry Jones doesn't? Let's hold on for a minute. Stay with me. Jerry Jones buys the team and he doesn't fire Tom Landry. You've already got Michael Irvin. You're going to have Troy Aikman. What do you think happens? Landry at the time, now we look at coaches today and go, wow, yeah, or then we go, wow, Tom Landry's so old. Really wasn't that old. You look at some of the coaches around today, either Belichick and everything else, you go, really not that old. What would have happened differently if they don't fire Landry? Do they come back? Does Landry come back with Troy Aikman? You have Herschel Walker. Does the trade happen without Jimmy Johnson, the Herschel Walker trade? You tell me what you think happens. Craig says Emmitt Smith doesn't become a Cowboy. Why? What do you think he doesn't become a Cowboy? Alan, I got Domino's Pizza. We love Domino's Pizza. Great sponsor. Last night did the Brooklyn style pizza, but had them bake the crust just a little crisper to imitate New Haven style pizza. It was a smashing success. All right, I know, Alan, you've never been to New Haven, Connecticut. I don't think in your life. Have you? Seriously. Have you ever been to New Haven, Connecticut? I'll buy that for a minute. All right, so that's the what if Wednesday question. What if Jerry Jones doesn't fire Tom Landry, doesn't bring in Jimmy Johnson? You've got the pieces in place. You've got Irvin, you've got Aikman. 90 is when you draft, I believe it was 90, when you draft Emmitt Smith. What do you think? I have been to Connecticut, he says. All right. Didn't know that. Emmitt doesn't become a Cowboy because you already have Herschel Walker. Well, why do we not think that the Walker deal doesn't go down otherwise? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But let's say you don't get Herschel Walker, you don't get Emmitt Smith. Herschel Walker was pretty damn good. If you put him with Aikman, with Irvin going forward, now we don't have the draft picks, right? That Jimmy Johnson just throwing darts. I mean, we're guys, whatever. And that's why we have old history. Jeff, if Alan didn't tell them he heard about Domino's on Ryan Heights Radio and made that a special request, boot him from the feed. I can probably do it, but I don't want to. The consensus at the time was that the game had passed Landry. Had it really passed him? Had it? Now, I'm not arguing with John right here. I mean, that was the deal that the Cowboys would text Ram with Tom Landry, that the game, the modern passing game, the modern game with, Bill Walsh and the 49ers, and, you had seen the Cowboys go to three straight early 80s NFC title games, make the playoffs into 86. Then you're sitting there with Steve Plur, and we can go through the quarterbacks and everything else. Did it completely pass him by though? But the question becomes, promo code Hyatt. Hyatt feeds the people. Good code. They're at Domino's.com. Uh, you know, so then it becomes, did Landry get stupid? Was it internal? You tell me. But again, we say this is alt history, and this is what happens if Jones doesn't fire Landry. What's the domino effect of that in the NFL or otherwise? And you guys are doing a great job just looking at it specifically from a Dallas Cowboy standpoint. But the overall aspect of it, what happens? Does Jimmy Johnson go somewhere else? Does he become the coach of, fill in the blank in the NFL? Does he not? Does he never go to the NFL? Does he stay at Miami another year or two and then maybe replace Don Shula the way he did later on? You guys are, and this is good, but this is why I do the alt history stuff. That you focus in on the initial question and then say, all right, what what happens other than that? That Jerry Jones has not hired Jimmy Johnson. They sit there at Mia's on Lemon. Is Lemon? Yeah. In Manny's territory. And they can't come to an agreement. And Jimmy says, no, hey, I love you, brother, you know, but I ain't going to do this. So what happens other than that? John, I don't think Landry would have had the success if they kept him. Never wanted to do away with the flex defense. Well, okay, the flex defense. I mean, do we want to go X's and O's here? I can go X's and O's if you want to. The flex defense was merely a 3-4-4 front flex. That's why it's called a flex. Ain't nothing wrong. There wasn't anything wrong with the flex defense. All right. Buffalo actually wins a Super Bowl. Which one? Which one did they win? I mean, they should have beat the Redskins. Well, they should have beat the Bills. Should have beat the Redskins. Nah, actually, the Redskins were pretty good that year. Stephen Tom ends up having dinner with Irvin. Turns into a 3-day bender. Darn shit, the legacy Jerry saved Tom. He already had Irvin. Irvin was already in the mix. San Francisco dominates the 90s just like they did the 80s. No, they would not have. They had aged out. They had already aged out. The 89 was their last reprise. They're against Cincinnati. They hang on. And gosh, I guess they made a coaching change too, didn't they? They hang on and they get the one against the Cowboys in 94. 94 season? Yeah. And then they do what the Cowboys did, and they don't understand the salary cap in the 90s. And all of a sudden, you got Jeff Garcia, playing quarterback. Jimmy Johnson goes to the Chicago Bears to replace Ditka a few years later. Yeah. No, I don't think so. I don't think The McCaskey family, I don't think at that time goes for Johnson. It depends on what Johnson has done. So we go to the alt history and we say Johnson doesn't come to the Cowboys. We assume he stays at Miami, right? So another 2 or 3 years, you win, you win big. I don't know. What do we do? What happens? Johnson then he's got to move in the next 3 years during that time frame. Where does he go? Great question. I think he ends up at Miami. I think if he stays, Alan, if he stays at Miami in the early 90s and he wins another 2 or 3, well, not national championships, but let's say maybe another national title, and he's just freaking Bear Bryant down there at Miami, ruling the roost. That's putting heat there on Wayne Huizenga, who buys the Dolphins, and you've got Dan Marino, peak Dan Marino. We're 10 years into Dan Marino, 83, 93, 94, right in through there. And you hadn't done squat if you're a Don Shula at that point, that it might have been Don Shula who becomes Tom Landry. And that people talk about how, you know, Jimmy Johnson offed Tom Landry with Wayne Huizenga. I think that's a much more logical progression if, again, old history, Jerry Jones doesn't fire Tom Landry, doesn't hire Jimmy Johnson. I think that's a much more logical progression, that the pressure becomes so great in Miami on Wayne Huizenga that you got to make the call. Jerry ends up hiring Lou Holtz or Barry Switzer because he's always been crazy. Yeah. So that's the other interesting thing there, is that he was always going to hire Barry, right? So when does he hire Barry? If you don't hire Jimmy Johnson, do you hire Barry in '89? Makes sense. Makes more sense than a lot of things. That it's Switzer in '89, and now you've got Switzer, and you've drafted Troy Aikman, and we know about the Switzer and Aikman history. Or do you draft Aikman? You don't draft Aikman, right? You get him, you don't draft Aikman. If Jimmy doesn't leave the U, Dennis Erickson doesn't leave Wazoo, delays his entry to the NFL. Yeah. And that's the the domino downhill effect of what we call this alt history stuff, that, what happened in Dallas, it's not just confined everybody, not everybody, but I give you guys the alt history question. If Jerry Jones doesn't fire Tom Landry, what happens? So yeah, if there's no Jimmy Johnson leaving Miami, there's no Dennis Erickson leaving Washington State. What happens out there? I mean, maybe he becomes. Well, no, it probably wasn't going to happen there on the Palouse. Let's be honest here. It's probably not going to happen. All right, your comments, your thoughts, your questions. We have not talked a lot about Tech basketball tonight. I apologize. HoopsHD.com, moving about 4 spots today, number 50 in the rankings. Get the 61-57 win last night. I likened it on Twitter last night, at Ryan Hyatt Media on Twitter. It was like a bad, like 8th grade dance. It was awkward. It was ugly at times. Nobody knew what to do. And then finally, Texas Tech, you got the win. You did what you had to do. So now they've got 3 straight wins to open up Big 12 play. That hadn't happened since 04-05. That team made the Sweet 16, by the way, under Bob Knight. Yeah, maybe breaking a home win or, anything else. The numbers last night, again, Tech controlled the game for the most part. They really did. And the best thing they did was defense. The last 5 minutes, you shut them down. They don't score. Literally, they're not scoring from the field. This team still offensively, I don't get it why it's not translating more consistently because, as we've said, the sum of the parts are not equaling everything you got. These are good parts. These are good players. Really good basketball players, in my opinion. And it's why, I look at Dave Almond at brackville.wordpress.com and hoopshd.com. Those are the two places we go, and you say, pay attention to this. They're going to tell you where your team is trending regarding the NCAA tournament. Are they in, out? Where are they? And Dave's got them inside the cut line, not just on the bubble, inside the cut line. And I think he's watching a team, and I agree. And he goes, this is a good basketball team. It's going to even out, right? But here I am watching the same team going, I don't see the big bump from the Big 12 this year. And it still troubles me that this team, I don't know. We'll see. Arizona this weekend at home, right? What are you going to do? Do they get the win or not? Chris, does the U have the problems it had? Seems like it really started to go downhill when Erickson got there. Another great question. So that changes that, perhaps, maybe. Now, there's a cascading scenario that Texas Tech ends up with Spike Dykes, ends up as a Dallas Cowboys DC. There's a cascading the Texas Tech ends up with Spike Dykes. Work with me on that. Help me on that, Alan. High school dance, perfect. Thank you. Yes, we've all been there. I would actually say more like a junior high dance or even like a United Methodist Church dance in like 1983 at St. Luke's in Lubbock, Texas. And they're playing Journey and you're dancing. Your hands are hips, but not too high. And you're afraid to move and you're just going back and forth. Yeah, that was that game last night. It really was. Jared, no Jimmy Johnson means no Emmitt Smith, Troy Aikman. No, you get Troy Aikman. You had the #1 pick already. Even Tom Landry had met with him at the Cotton Bowl. Michael Irvin is already there. And my introduction to football isn't as important to my childhood. Well, you missed you're young. You missed out on a lot of stuff right there. But yeah, Smith may be the biggest one you don't get. You already got Irvin. You're gonna get Aikman. So then it becomes Smith. Roberto Delgado. Tom Landry would have had to get rid of the flex defense. We're talking about the flex defense. Nobody knows what the flex defense is. Flex defense. You guys are talking about the flex. Second person commenting that flex defense, which Tom would never done that. Bum Bright didn't have the frijoles to fire Tom. He was a gutless individual. Well, you got that right. On Bum Bright, HR Bum Bright, the SNL scandal bringing down not just him, many others, but also the Dallas Cowboys at the time. All right, so the flex defense, this whole thing on the flex defense, all the flex defense was a combo 3-4, which everybody plays now. Tom Landry was a freaking defensive genius, which is funny because he was really good on offense too. And him and Vince Lombardi are on this staff for the New York Giants in the 1950s. And Lombardi goes and takes the head coaching job in 60 there at Green Bay, and Tom Landry obviously gets the head coaching job at Dallas. But so the flex defense really develops in the mid to late 60s as much as it does. And all the flex defense was a read and react defense. There was no set 4-man front, 5-man front. I mean, you can do whatever you want to with the front. All the flex, the so-called flex, was a read and react defense, which we all do now. Everybody runs a read. Everybody runs keys. Everybody runs that. Every defense you see, and that was happening in the 70s and 80s and in the 90s, they were all read and react defenses. So the whole idea of the flex, oh yeah, he wouldn't abandon the flex defense. That's just dumb. It's just not smart football. They would put, if we need a gap control against a certain team, we run a gap control 4-man front. We're running a gap control. Maybe we need a 3-man front this week. So you back off Randy White and you put him back on a defensive end / outside, what we would call an outside linebacker now. It's just the flex defense was brilliant because it was the first one that absolutely said, we don't just line up and blast in there. We wait half a second and look, did the guard influence in? What did the fullback do? We've watched the tendencies all week long. We've seen the guard block down here. We've seen this. And we tell our defensive tackle, hey, maybe you just don't suck up into the gap for just a second. Maybe you hold the gap. Maybe you hold the gap and let the linebacker come through and make the play. Crazy talk, I know. I don't know a damn thing about football. It's a shame. Minnesota gets Emmett and a bunch of other draft day picks, and the Bills meet in the Super Bowl. I don't know how that happened. How'd that happen? Sounds like crazy talk. You know who runs the flex of defense? Every friggin' defensive coordinator now. Emmett gets. I mean, how do we know that? Why would they get a bunch of other draft picks if they're getting Emmett? You're not making sense, said the Talking Heads. Good band. All right, a few more minutes left. Another night, another sad night where David Carter from KMAC 28 has not weighed in. Tomorrow, my favorite college basketball venues, your favorite college basketball arenas. Got into that with my good friend Matt Humans on VSIN last night. Vegas Stats and Information Network, available on your computer, wherever you want to find it. We'll do that. What If Wednesday? We enjoyed it. Tomorrow, cold weather prep. What are you guys doing to get ready for the cold weather? It's very important to do that. And anything else that may be on your mind? Am I missing something? Looking over here. No, we're good. All right. You guys are awesome. Enjoy the time we have together. I got to hit a button up here. It ends the stream. Again, if you're my age, if only there were a button that just did that, it'd be fantastic and awesome. I want you guys to share this online. That's, on the computer thing. Not hard to do. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. And then go to the website, theraiderland.com. Tomorrow morning, get ready to go. We'll rate a few things on a Thursday. It'll be fun. All right. Thanks for hanging out. Enjoy the conversation, and, keep the conversation going on Twitter tonight at Ryan Hyatt Media on Twitter. Follow us there at Ryan Hyatt Media. If you still got a few bones to pick with me or anything else, jump on there.